Hello everyone, and welcome back to my podcast. Guys, today we're talking about this topic that has been requested many times. A few of my clients asked me to go over this topic, as well as you guys who follows me on social media. I want to talk about how to trust yourself around food. If you're new here, you're listening my episode for the first time, I just want to say that the reason why I feel like I have a lot to say about this topic is because I personally struggle with ED for 12 years. And so trusting myself around the food was always a battle. For the longest time, I couldn't have certain foods in my house like peanut butter, like chocolate, potato chips, like they were completely something I just could not even, like I couldn't have this food in my house because I had like zero control. The moment I start eating it, I wouldn't know when to stop. So if you've ever thought I cannot trust myself around food, whether it's the peanut butter, those cookies, the potato chips, or even just like having a regular portion of pasta, this episode is for you, and I'm so excited for you to be here because listen, I 100% understand and I get it, because that fear of like losing the control is so freaking real. And you know what's the worst part? The more you try to restrict and be quote unquote good, the harder it gets. So today we're diving super deep into why this happens, and most importantly, how to really actually trust yourself around food again, without guilt, without crazy rules. And I will just share with you the strategies that help me to overcome this horrible relationship with food that I had for like 12 years. So let's get into it, guys. So let's be real, feeling out of control around food doesn't just happen randomly, okay? That's something you need to understand, because there is so many major reasons why this happens, and most of them have nothing to do with your willpower. Because I hear this so often when people say, I just don't have the willpower. I'd rather just not buy these foods because when I have them in my house, I just can control myself. It has nothing to do with your willpower. The reason why you feel so out of control is because you've simply trained your brain to expect restrictions. If you've been dieting for years or decades, your brain is wired to think that food is something that you should be controlling. The more you try to be good and you avoid certain foods, the more you want those foods. It's literally like telling a little kid, hey, don't touch that. Well, what happens? Suddenly the kid, it's all they want to do, or kids, it's all they want to do. And it's the same thing with food. The foods you restrict, the more those foods becomes like the ones that you're obsessed over and you want it so much more. Another thing, that if you feel so out of control, you're probably under eating without even realizing that. Because most women I talk to, they feel out of control around food, and I know for a fact that they are just not eating enough throughout the day. And the thing is that because we've been dieting for so long, we even lost the idea of like, what is it even like the right amount of food? Like, I don't even know how much to eat anymore, because you've been restricting for so long that you don't even know how much to eat anymore. And then you probably eat below 1,500 calories thinking that it's still too much food for you. So I'm here to tell you that it's not. Most people that I talk to, women especially, if you're somehow active woman, you probably should be eating over 2,000 calories and maintain your weight. If you're eating anything below 1,700 calories, I guarantee you that you're not eating enough. And that's why you have these triggers, and you can trust yourself around food, because the moment you have those cookies, your body is simply starving. So you're like, I'm just gonna eat a whole pack because I can just have one. And another thing is that what I hear so often is also that a lot of women that I talk to, they're constantly skipping their meals. They are or they are eating super, super clean, they're cutting all of their carbs, and all of a sudden, boom, you are elbow deep in this bag of potato chips at 9 p.m. wondering what just happened. And I'm telling you that your body is just doing its job. If you're not giving enough fuel to your body throughout the day, it will push you to eat more later. It's that simple. And another thing is also that, those constant thoughts around food, those are making it even worse, because if you label certain foods as good or like off limits, eating them triggers this insane guilt. And I'm telling you, like, I can even tell you, like, I would have like completely shitty mood the moment that I would eat the foods that I would call forbidden or bad for me, whether it was a slice of, I don't know, a piece of chocolate, or like I would have like a cookie. I would be like, oh my God, bad Martina. Like, like I would feel so guilty. And the worst part of all of this is that, that guilt makes you feel like you completely messed up, which leads to almost like in most cases, including myself in the past, to that like screw it mentality. It's almost like, oh, well, I messed up already. I had one cookie. Let me just have 5 of them, or like the whole pack. And that is what turns a simple craving into a full-on binge. I've been there for so many years. I can even tell you, like, I couldn't even imagine for the longest time to be able to wake up and don't think about food, or to wake up and feel like, okay, today is going to be a good day. I'm not going to binge. Like, that was not a single day like that for several years, because I would wake up with the idea or the thought in my head thinking, oh, how little can I eat? What's the lowest calorie food that I can eat so I can go throughout the day and stay at 1200 calories, so that next day when I wake up, I weigh less on the scale. That was literally, those are the thoughts that were consuming me for years. So I want you to do a quick reality check. I'm going to remind you the one thing that you need to remember. If you leave this podcast remembering one thing, this is going to be the one. You are not addicted to food. You are not weak. You're not out of control. Your body is just reacting to years of dieting and restrictions. That's it. And the positive thing here is that we're about to fix it. So I'm very happy you're here with me today. So, let's start with how to really trust yourself around food, because I'm going to share with you something that actually works and that helped me to overcome ED and become the person I am today, helping others to really build better relationship with foods. So step number 1, I do have it like in a few steps for you. So step number 1 will be that you have to give yourself unconditional permission to eat. And now you're probably freaking out saying like, you're crazy, Martina. There's no way. So I know that this sounds very, very, very scary, but hear me out. The food or the foods you feel out of control around, they're only powerful because you've made them forbidden. The moment that you allow all foods into your life without guilt, they lose their power. It's like when you first start dating someone and you're so obsessed with texting them. Like, you wake up first thing in the morning, you text them, then you go to bed, and then you need to send them a good night message, right? But after a while, we all know this is how it is. After a while, the excitement kind of wears off. Like, listen, like I'm with my boyfriend for 3 years, and we sometimes don't talk throughout the day at all. We literally just like see each other in the morning, and then we see each other at night when we are done with work and he comes home from work. That's it. And we don't text each other during the day. But when I remember when we used to hang out at the beginning and we were getting to know each other, oh my goodness, I would be texting him all day long. He would be responding. It was so exciting. And now it's like, okay, babe, give me a break. That's the same thing with food. It's funny comparison, but it is the same thing. Same thing. right? If you stop labeling the food, you are going to feel more empowered and you're going to feel like, hey, I can still have it. Like it's not that I cannot eat this food. Like the food is always going to be there. So the action step that I want you to do after watching or listening this podcast is I want you to start allowing yourself to eat the foods you usually restrict with no rules, no guilt. And like I'm saying it because I know it. At first you might eat a little bit more than usual, and that's absolutely normal. But over time, almost like your brain realizes that the food is not going anywhere, like I just told you, and the obsession goes away. And I'm telling you that one of the the biggest breaking points for my recovery back in 2018 was that I have looked at myself in the mirror and I said, I cannot live like this anymore, and I do need to go through this recovery process. Keep in mind, I recovered myself. I never went to a therapist or anybody, but I promised myself that if the recovery is going to cost me to gain some weight, I understand that it's just a part of the process, because I cannot be freaking out the moment I step on the scale and see 1-2 pounds extra, because the moment I do, what happens is that I will start spiraling back and restricting and binging and having awful relationship with food. So that one promise I've gave myself has helped me to become the person I am today, to be healthy mentally, physically, and have honestly the best relationship with food that I've had my whole life. Step number 2 is I want you to eat during the day. Like I said, 99% of people that I talk to are under eating during the day. Like they start their day with coffee because they need that boost of energy. They don't do meal prep because maybe they don't know how. Then they grab some, a cheese stick with few crackers, or maybe go and have a salad with no carbs because they are bad for them. And next thing you know, they're coming home super hungry, starving, hangry, and then they are cleaning up the whole pantry and binging on potato chips and chocolate. So I actually want you to start eating during the day, because if you constantly feel like you are losing control at night, I guarantee you that it's not because you have no willpower, but you're just not eating throughout the day. So your body say enough, and I got enough, feed me. And when that happens, like you don't want to eat chicken and rice, like you want to eat the forbidden food, right? That you call forbidden and you still have in your pantry. So you're going to go and binge on those potato chips, and then you feel so guilty. So your body is not trying to sabotage you. It is literally just trying to keep you alive. That's it. So the action step for you is I want you to eat 3 solid meals plus snacks. So what I mean by solid meals is I want you to get enough protein, enough carbs, and healthy fats in every single one of your meal. And yes, carbs too. Pay attention to how you feel. If you're getting hungry every 2 to 3 hours, that's a sign that you need to eat more. But remember, I want you to focus on eating actually like balanced meals, like carbs, proteins, and fats, high fiber carbs. So don't have just crackers or a rice cake, like pair it with a lean protein and healthy fat. This is going to be a game changer. And because I said in the step number 1, allow yourself to eat all the foods. Once you're going to start eating these meals 3 times to 5 times a day, like 3 big meals and 2 snacks, you actually count yourself that if you want to have the chocolate, you're going to have 1 piece and you'll be like, wow, I'm actually satisfied. Maybe the first couple of days you're going to eat more than you think you should or wanted to, but that's okay. But in a week or 2, you're going to find that it's like, oh my God, like I actually don't even, like I can even tell you guys, when I work with my clients, like they are either binge eaters or they like struggle with horrible relationship with food. And I'm telling you that one of the biggest wins, the most common wins within like 7 days of working with me and following my program is that they come to me and say, Martina, I haven't binged for a week or 2. Normally I would binge like 3 times a week. and I actually don't even feel like I want to binge. Like I have all the foods in my house, but I don't think about eating it because I just feel so satisfied. You guys, please remember this. This is like, I'm so passionate about this because when I'm seeing the transition that my clients are going through, I'm just like so happy because it really is not about your willpower or you being weak or you being a failure. Like it's about understanding that you are simply not eating enough throughout the day, and then your body is just like, F you, I'm going on binge, and then you just can't stop it. So like I said, the action steps: have the 3 solid meals plus snacks. But when I say solid, think about lean protein, fiber like carbohydrates, and healthy fats. Step number 3 is I want you to really stop labeling foods as good or bad. The moment you call a food bad, your brain makes it feel like it's something you need to avoid. And when you finally eat it, then again, there is the instant guilt that we all know so well. So instead, I want you to look at food as just food. It's just food. Yes, like some foods are more nutrient dense, some are just more fun. And that's what I say always. Like I always have like 80%, 90% of the time whole foods because that's what makes me feel amazing. Like, I am feeling great, I have good energy, I don't feel bloated, I just feel satisfied, like I'm not hungry, I don't have cravings. And then the 10% is literally a happy food, my fun food. So whether it's like a donut or a chocolate or ice cream, whatever, I am literally just like, I need this. This is part of my day. Like I need this happy food. So stop labeling the food and you're going to feel so much better. The action step that I want you to do is next time you eat something you usually feel like really, really, really guilty about, stop and remind yourself, hey, this is just the food. I'm allowed to eat it. And notice how your overall relationship with food will change over time. I've kept reminding myself the food is always going to be there. There is no such a thing like if I'm not eating the cookie today, it's gonna be gone. Like no, I can have it tomorrow again and that's okay. I don't have to have it today. And I think that that was one of the biggest shifts for me as well, because I understood that I don't need to stuff myself today with all the foods because I can still have it tomorrow. Step number 4, I want you to, and you guys, this is something I work on for so long, like years, because this is, okay, I'm gonna say what it is and then I'm gonna tell you why. So slow down and actually taste your food and chew properly. I would literally like swallow. Like the reason why is because majority of my life I grew up obviously with my parents and they own a restaurant. So I was working as a waitress since I was like 14. And if you experience working at the bar or at the restaurant, you know that most likely generally speaking, there's not a lot of time for you to take a 30 minutes break, sit down and actually enjoy your meals. Like it's always like, oh my God, I'm hungry. I need to really quickly eat something because I have, customers waiting or I just cannot take a break. So I was trained to literally just swallow my meals because I was working at a restaurant for years, literally since I was like 14 till all the way till I moved to Canada, which was all the way till I was like 28, 9, 30. Yeah. So like 15, 16 years, right? So I've never really was able to eat food and actually like enjoy it because I just didn't even know how, because I was trained to always swallow it and be super quick. So the thing is that when you eat fast, you bypass your body's like natural hunger and fullness cues. So slowing down will really, really, really help you recognize when you're actually satisfied, so you don't end up eating way past fullness. And chewing properly, even maybe use, I don't know, I've never done it, but I know that people say that they kind of like switch, if they're like right-handed, they put a fork in the left hand. I've never done that. I'm really just focusing on being intentional and just eating slowly all of my meals, and it has been a game changer. I literally even talked about it with my boyfriend the other day. I was like, babe, when I started doing this completely changed the way I feel about food, and after food I feel satisfied for longer, and I just feel like my plate is actually enough for me, because I like food. I really, really love food, and I just feel like I can always eat so much compared to other people. And so when I started focusing on being very like intentional and not just like swallowing, then it made a huge difference. So the action step for you, because I really, really wanted to try this, is I want you to really just pause and like check in with yourself, right? So halfway through your meal, try to maybe put the fork down and ask yourself, am I still hungry? Or am I just eating because it's there? Am I chewing properly? Am I getting distracted with being on the phone? Things like that. And if you're still hungry, just keep eating. If you are not, then you're good. Step number 5 is, this is also a big one. I want you to remember one thing, that one meal is not going to ruin anything. Because if you go over your calories one day, nothing will happen. It's okay. If you eat pizza on Friday night, nothing happens. What actually matters is what you do consistently. So the actionable step for you is, next time you eat more than planned, I want you to remind yourself, this doesn't mean I failed. I don't need to compensate by eating less tomorrow, and one meal is just one meal. The biggest mistake I used to make is that when I overate, I would plan to do more cardio next day, and I would plan to eat way less next day, just because I was I was trying to compensate for the meal that I had and allowed myself to have, and then felt guilty. So I would punish myself the next day. And guess what? I would go from eating that one pizza to not eating on Saturday morning or during the day, and then Saturday night hit and I would go and have a binge. So what I've learned is, even if I overdo it one day, the next day I just wake up and I still have the same breakfast, I drink my water, I do my steps, and I just move on. Because it's literally the best strategy for you to get out of the all or nothing cycle of being like, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, because you will never, ever get out of the cycle if you keep overeating and then restricting. If you overeat, then just move on. The best strategy. So to wrap this up, I want to just kind of like bring that all together for you. Trusting yourself around food isn't about having more willpower. Literally, it's just about breaking the cycle of restrictions and guilt. And so here is what I want you to really, really, really focus on this week. Number 1, I want you give yourself permission to eat all foods without the guilt. Remember, if you keep your 3 big meals and 2 snacks constantly during the day, you're eating consistently, like every 3, 4, 5 hours, and you're making sure that you have the balanced meal, like I said, the lean protein, those carbs like high in fiber, and the healthy fats, you're going to find that you don't even want the foods that you're calling forbidden. Like, you're not even going to think about it. And if you will, that's okay, just eat it. And next day, you might still feel like you want a little bit, but in a week or 2, you're gonna start feeling like, oh, I don't actually even crave the food anymore. Now, another thing I want you to really focus on this week is that I want you to stop labeling food as good or bad. I want you to slow down and check with your hungers while you're eating. And lastly, I want you to remember that one meal is not going to ruin everything. Like I said at the beginning or during the podcast, one of the biggest mindset shift that I've made that helped me to recover from my ED was that I have told myself that if I'm going to put on a little bit of weight during the recovery while I was healing my relationship with food, I will be okay with that because it's the price that I have to pay to be healthy. So if this happy episode hit home for you, please send me a DM and tell me what part resonated the most. I would love to hear from you so much. And if you found this helpful, it would mean the world if you share this with maybe some of your friends or family member who needs to hear this, because I know so many people struggles with this. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for sticking with me for the whole episode. I will talk to you in a few days. Remember, I'm posting episodes every Monday and every Friday, and it means the world to me if you spread the word and just share my podcast with your friends. But until next time, have the best day of your freaking life, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.